Well, hi there, everybody. My name is Dan Holland, and I am a full-time evangelist. And the reason for this short video is to talk about a course that I'm rolling out, and it's based on a book that I've recently written called Prophetic Evangelism. I didn't realize how how timely it would be given the restrictions of lockdown and how some normal methods of evangelism have been extremely restricted, if not stopped altogether. So, I want to give you just a brief outline of the course that uh, at some point you might like to come on. At the moment, I'm doing it on Zoom. Hopefully, at some point, it will transfer into being a live course. But the course is based on this book, as I say, but also four sections within the book, four parts, um, corresponding to these four motifs, which are supposed to be apps, symbols like apps that everyone's got on their phones. So anyway, the four parts, the four sections are: part one, the evangelism imperative; part two, the prophetic through scripture, when God speaks; part three, Jesus and prophetic evangelism; and then part four, prophetic evangelism practicalities. So today I'm thinking particularly about the first part, the evangelism imperative. So this first part is just establishing and kind of flagging up that our primary call as Christians is to tell people about Jesus, and that's why I believe the main reasons we're still here, not worshipping him in heaven, where there is no lockdown and there is no suffering and there is no pain and there are no lost people, because everyone's belongs to Jesus up there. Whereas we look around down on earth here and we see multitudes of people lost and struggling and in pain and going to the wrong places to try and find love and making bad decisions that have dire consequences in their lives. And if it doesn't dawn on us that our purpose here is to tell them the good news that Jesus is alive and well, he's risen from the dead, and he can get them right with God, then there's a problem. So this first part is just really re-establishing the importance, the fact that the Great Commission, one of the last things Jesus spoke to his disciples before he went back up to his Father in heaven, is extremely important. It's there in Matthew chapter 28, it's there in Mark chapter 16, it's there in much shorter form in Acts chapter 1. This gospel will be preached in Jerusalem, Judea, Samaria, and to the ends of the earth. That sometimes we just need a healthy reminder that this is what we're called to. And sharing Jesus is the most natural thing for people who've experienced his goodness and belong to him. And if we have some great news, if we suddenly come into lots of money, if we suddenly God blesses us in some way, what's the first thing we do? We pick up the phone to people that are important to us, and we tell them this good news. It's infectious. So why is it often not the case with the gospel? Why do we not share more than we do? Well, there's the obvious one of fear. We think someone else is an expert. We'll let the full-time evangelists do it. They're the one that's been trained. They're the ones that, they can do it. We disempower ourselves. We think we're no good. All the usual kind of things that the enemy fires at us. But the reality is, if once we start looking into it, that we're all doing far more evangelism than we realise, because perhaps we have a very narrow grid for what evangelism is. Our mind might go to one or a few places, like for instance the guy in Leicester Square with a sandwich board on with verses picked out of the minor prophets that's from somewhere, all about judgment and vengeance and destruction, and shouting. And I'm not criticizing those people. It takes an awful lot of guts to do that. However, if in our mind somewhere that's the kind of box where we think that's evangelism, then we're not going to do it. The average person will never do it. It's far too confrontational. It just makes us feel uncomfortable, and we'll stop right there. Or we might think of the mega evangelists like Reinhard Bonnke or Billy Graham or whoever it might be, Louis Palau, And we think that's what evangelism is, speaking to stadiums full, thousands, tens of thousands of people. That's what evangelism is. And yes, it is. But if we stop there, if we think that's all it is, then that's where the deception comes in. Because I sincerely believe there's a huge spectrum of evangelism, from handing out a nice hot chocolate at a train station with a God bless you, to inviting someone to a church service, to helping out on an alpha, to befriending your neighbor who knows that you're a Christian. You might not be ever so direct in sharing the gospel, but your life becomes a signpost to Jesus. There are so many ways that we all can evangelize. There's media evangelism, putting verses out on Facebook, putting little video clips. You're nothing these days unless you're putting little Christian clips out on Facebook. There's a million ways that we can evangelize, apart from the message of our lives. Just living a Christ-like, a godly life, a righteous life in this world. That's a signpost to Jesus. So I want to disavow you in this first clip of the lie that you may be thinking, well, I don't do any evangelism, and I actually feel really guilty about that, because somewhere deep down I know I should be. But I want to remind you that if you're following Jesus, if you're living a good life, if people know you're a Christian, if you help other people who do more public ministry, then you are doing evangelism. Sometimes it's like Philip bringing Nathanael to Jesus, just come and see. Just inviting people to something. That's a form of evangelism. So you may be doing a lot more than you think you are. And if you bought a copy of this book, read a copy of this book, or came on the course, you would discover that. We can all, of course, do more, and we can get better at what we're doing already. But we're on that spectrum of evangelism somewhere. And this course would be a great way to sharpen up and focus in on how you're gifted, what spiritual gifts you have that can help in evangelism. Things like healing, the word of knowledge, the word of wisdom, prophecy. These are all tools which can be very effective in grabbing people's attention, breaking into their bubble and their busyness and their fears, and revealing a Jesus who is personal, who is present, who wants to deal with them in their lives, where they're at. He loves them just where they are. He doesn't want to leave them there, though, but that's a starting point, reaching out and touching their felt need, what's going on in their lives at the moment. So I'm going to be sending 4 clips, 4 parts from this book, Prophetic Evangelism, Kingdom Exploits in the Risk Zone. We all have a role to play in fulfilling the Great Commission. And in the further 3 clips, I'll be talking about how the prophetic can help us in evangelism and is a very, very useful tool. So God bless you. Have a blessed day, and be assured that you are doing more evangelism than you think you are. God bless you.